Today we're going to focus on the college writing competition, the specifics about it. I've put another copy of the poster up on Sector for you to read. You've seen it before. It basically talks about respect, and then there are the guidelines. You can read that at your own leisure. Also on today's Sector there is a document that explains the task, which was completed recently. It has the writing prompts and the resources you're going to need to use to complete your creative piece. There are a few different options, but your writing will be based around the current situation we find ourselves in. The health professionals in general have been experiencing some very difficult times since the COVID-19 epidemic began, and some people in particular have been singled out for some really quite awful behaviour. Now, your word limit for your piece will be 850 words. However, if you include an original image, your word limit can be 500. The due date is May the 8th, which is next Friday, and you've got 3 more lessons after today to come up with your work. So there should be plenty of time. We have different sorts of creative writing, as you know. There are songs, there are plays, movies, poetry, narratives, which we've looked at, and letters. Now, normally we'd give you an option of choosing a number of these, but we've narrowed it down this year to make it more specific and give you more directions and guidelines as you're not in class. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I've brainstormed and after looking at all the comments and the Padlet and things that I've read, things to do with respect. I want you to go back and look at your definitions, your brainstorming, the class Padlet, go back over your diary. What have you witnessed in the last few weeks? You can use my slide as well. But you should be very clear now about what sort of things are respectful and what are disrespectful. We've been looking at narrative writing and you've been practicing short stories, but a lot of the good writing techniques are just as relevant to letter writing, and that's what we're looking at for the rest of this lesson. When you look up letter on Google, you come up with the first definition, which is a really simple one: a written, typed or printed communication. That's the important word, communication. You have to be able to communicate your message if you want to be understood, if you want people to know how you're feeling, what you're thinking. Communicate well in a letter, and people know that. We'll be looking at mechanics of letter writing. You're going to do some practice letters focusing on the theme of respect, and don't forget your grammar, spelling and punctuation skills. Now there's ways of looking at letters: private and public, friendly and business, personal and professional. We're going to use the words formal and informal. So formal letters are professional communications. They're documents that follow a particular prescribed format. They're written in a passive voice and for a specific purpose, and often they're legally binding. Informal letters are used for personal communication. These letters do not have a strict prescribed format and are written with an active voice, one which almost invites communication on an equal level. So you can see there under formal, you've got writing to people of importance, writing to people you don't know well, informal, writing to people you know, and postcards can be included as a short letter. Now, people often think letters, you just write them off the top of your head. To be good letter writers, you really need to plan. You need to think about to whom you're writing. You need to record the purpose of your letter. Really think about what you want to say, how you want to say it, and then point out anything you want the reader to follow up with. Now, once upon a time, people wrote fantastic letters. Some of the letters I've seen of soldiers from the trenches writing home, which, of course, I was looking at over Anzac Day. They wrote a lot of letters, and they were really poignant, really heartfelt. We are out of practice today, so it's even more important to do your planning. This is a very simple format. There is a basic letter organization, whether it's formal or informal. You need a greeting or a salutation. You'll address the receiver, you'll introduce yourself, and you indicate your purpose for writing. You need the body to provide information and specific details about a request or the information you're providing. You'll probably need to reiterate the reason you're writing and thank the reader for reviewing your request or reading your letter or following up with any actions. And then you close with the appropriate sign-off followed by your own signature. And please take note, I've pointed out 2 important commas. You can read this yourself. And I think if you're writing a letter for your creative writing piece, 2, maybe 3 paragraphs would be enough for your shared stories project. I've written in more detail what a formal letter is. You can have a look at that. But basically a formal letter is can be letters of inquiry, recommendation letters. They could be application letters, writing a professional letter of application for a job. It could be an invitation, a formal invitation, making someone feel good about being asked to an upcoming event. It could be an acceptance or rejection letter, approving or denying an application, but it has to be done in a professional way. It could be a resignation or an exit letter, where you formally leave a position, again in a professional way. You could be vouching for someone's skills or credibility in a reference letter. Or you could be making an offer for a car or a house or whatever it is. They're usually legally binding. Now this here is the format of a professional letter. Quite a strict structure, as you can see. The informal letter, a little bit less in the body, but there are particular things you need to make note of. Now, you can read those, but informal letters could be congratulations, acknowledging someone's achievements, letters of condolence, grieving or loss, acknowledging someone's loss and that someone is personally been affected. It could be a letter to the editor, letting someone know their actions are adversely affecting you or others, or that their actions might have done something really good and you wanted to congratulate them. It could be just an informal update, writing a letter home if you're away, telling your parents what you've been up to. All of these would come under informal letters. Now, going back to our theme, when I think about respect for health workers or healthcare workers, healthcare professionals, these are some of the things that I came up with based on what I've been hearing, reading, seeing on television. Things like acknowledging their strengths and skills. People are talking about giving them a raise, following rules and guidelines so you don't put them in more danger and the hospitals under extra pressure. Showing them some mutual respect. Challenging when someone might be exhibiting some violence towards them. Staying home and not getting in the way of healthcare professionals, all those sorts of things. You can have a look at this yourself. I then want you to read this article. It's about nurses and midwives. I also want you to look at your own ideas and your own notes that you've taken in your diary. So when you've read this, go on to the next task, which is writing letters. Now, I want you to write 2 forms of letters, a formal one and an informal one. You can see there, I want a police officer, firefighter, a supermarket staff member. I've got some letter generators. I thought it might be a bit of fun to just fill in the fields, so doing a bit of practice that way. And then the informal one, there's a personal letter generator and a postcard creator. Now, remember to keep who the letter is written to in mind, why you're writing the letter, what this person did to deserve a letter being written to them, what things the person has done that has won your respect, and what you think the personal values that person has. So think about those things as you're filling in these fields. And then I want you to make sure you keep a copy of the letters, save them, or take a screen grab of them and put them into your OneNote folder. Finally, I want you to write a letter in a Word document. This will be a longer letter, one that you'll be constructing yourself. It may form the basis for your creative writing project. It may be like a first draft. Again, I've given you some ideas about how you might plan it. Think about why you're writing the letter. Is it a thank you? Is it out of respect? Are you sorry for some ill treatment of people that you've seen happening or read about? Same sort of things. What did this person do to deserve a letter? What acts has this person done that you respect? What values do you think the person has? What would you like to say to them? Would you like to wish them all the best? Do you hope that they'll have more help? Hope that they get all the necessary supplies to keep themselves and their families safe? Do you want to include something about things that you've been doing to try and help, staying home, washing your hands, etc. This letter you're going to write in the first person, so you can say I, which is not often we say to you when you're doing creative writing. Remember the structure of your letter. Please use the correct grammar and punctuation and spelling, and then you're going to upload the letter to the workspace. The link is on Sector today. Reminder about capital letters, full stops, commas, and some of the words that you boys tend to mix up, your, the twos and the different theirs. Please try and get your work proofread. Not as important, I suppose, today, but certainly will be important for your creative writing piece. And then this is how we're going to be marking the creative writing pieces, so you can see there what we're going to be doing. Okay, boys, good luck with the letter writing.